Okay, next thing is lists. So let's look at an example first. So here's G, create a vector with just one element. Okay, just my first list. It's just one element, it's just a string. And then here's H, that's a vector with 4 numbers in it. And then J is a matrix, completely different than these two. It's just some matrix, right? And then it's what? A matrix goes from 1 to 10. The elements go from 1 to 10, and there are 5 rows, so there's 2 columns. And then there's another vector of strings, but this one has 3 strings, whereas this one only had 1 string. And then, okay, so could I make I couldn't combine I would never want to combine all of these into a single vector. That nobody would think of doing that. So how about, could I put all of these into a matrix? I mean, could I have a matrix like where the first row was this, and the second row was this. I'm sorry, the first column was this, and the second column was this, and the third column was this. Doesn't make sense, right? And the fourth column was this, right? No, I couldn't do that for a lot of different reasons. One main reason is that every element in a matrix has to be of the same type. And here's strings, here's numbers. This is of type matrix, actually, which is totally weird. And then strings. So that doesn't work. And also another thing about matrices is that the number of elements in each column has to be the same, right? Matrices have to be, I can't draw it here, but so that's not a good drawing at all. But anyway, here's like the first column. So there's 4 elements there. There's 4 elements here. There's 4 elements. Every column has to have the same number of rows in a matrix, and this doesn't have that either. Where did that go? This doesn't have that either, right? This has like 3 elements. I don't know what we say this has. I guess we could say it has 1 element, 1 matrix. This has 4 elements. It doesn't work. Okay, so we can't make this into a matrix for a couple reasons. It doesn't have the same types of elements, and they're not even the same number of rows in each column. Then we could ask, oh, well, could we make it into a data frame? No, we can't do that, because a data frame doesn't have to have the same, this column could be a string stuff, and this could be numbers. We saw this example before, and this could be factors and so on. But they do have to have the same number of rows in each column for a data frame. That's a restriction on a data frame. But normally when we're talking about analyzing data, we do have that. We have a bunch of variables up here, and then this is the first record, the second record. So they do have the same number of columns usually for most data that we work on. But suppose that we have something like this, and we want to put it all together into something. So when we want to put it all together into something, we call it a list. We put it together in a list. So we can create a list out of this. We can't create a matrix out of it. We can't create a data frame out of it. We certainly can't create a vector out of it. Or I should say, we definitely wouldn't want to. So we can make it into a list, though. So you use the list function instead of the an array doesn't work either. So we skipped over array. It's the same thing as a matrix, basically. So list. So we've used array function here. We didn't use a vector function, but we used the C function, the concatenation, the combine function, and we've used a matrix function, array, data frame function here, and now we use the list function. So the list will take G, H, J, and K as the arguments. G, H, J, and K as the arguments. Now here, G they gave this, and you don't have to have this and this. You could just have G, H, J, and K, and that's fine. But here they gave these 2 special names. So if you don't give them special names, then when you print it out, there's no special name here. it's just the item number 3. But here, item number 1, instead of calling it item number 1, we have a name for it. It's called title. Okay, instead of calling it item number 2, we have a name for it. It's called ages. But in the J's case, we don't have a name for that, so they just call it item number 3 there. And for K, also item number 4. So we can do that with a list. And so you just do it with the list function. You can either give them names or you don't have to, and then you've stored it into a list. Okay, let's come back to this in another video.